Hello. Hello, everyone. I hope you're well. My name is Avril Hepner, and I'm from the BDA Scotland. And I'm delighted to be here for another BSL Blethers session. And tonight's edition is about wild nature in BSL. So we're looking at the natural world, and we're going to talk about it in sign language. So we're going to be looking at all kinds of different aspects of the wild and natural world. And that seems really appropriate to change of season. We've got autumn coming, summer passing, and everything in nature is just beginning to change and just beginning to turn. So it's a lovely opportunity to discuss this with our two fabulous guests, two gentlemen I'd like to introduce you to. Here we are. Welcome. Hello.
Hello.
You both? Are you well?
Oh, lovely to see you, Avril.
Very well, thank you. And I'd like you to introduce yourselves, if you would. Say who you are and where you're from.
Well, indeed, my name is Dave Walker, and I'm from the northeast of England. I have been born and bred there, been there all my life.
And I'm Stuart, and I'm from Leeds, where I was born and bred too. Well, I've known you both for a really long, well, I'll say a few years, shall I? And I know that you've been interested in wildlife for some time. And I believe you set up your own Facebook group. Is that right?
We do indeed. I think the link will appear at the bottom of the screen later on. It's, BSL is what we believe in discussing this in. So it's about nature and wildlife discussed in BSL, and that's the focus of that group.
Okay, so before we get any deeper on that, can I backtrack a little bit and ask how you came up with the idea of this? Where was the inspiration from? Or do you want to go, Dave? You tell them.
Okay, so let's discuss how this group got going. 2019, I think it was, I had already been involved in quite a few other Facebook groups that I came across. And, it was just generally people out there. And I was chatting online with them. And, I always felt a bit isolated because obviously they had skills in written English that I always felt a bit intimidated by. And I wanted to share information. I knew I had a lot of knowledge and a lot to share. And I spoke to Stuart and said, look, why don't we do something that's BSL focused? And we got together and got that group going 2019.
Yeah, and it's been going for 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So that started through COVID and it went all through COVID times as well?
That's right.
And I'm sure that was a real boost to people who were feeling isolated at that time.
It built up gradually over time. 240 members now, but at the start, a bit slow starting, and people had photographs, and it's just built up over time. So we have birds, we have animals, there's all sorts of things. And I think the more that people see, the more they want to see.
And I think we've got over, 4,000 photographs now? I mean, so many people have contributed so many different things. It's really, really enjoyable. It's been going for the last 5 years. So do you have any rules about the photographs you can post?
Well, photographs, etc. The whole purpose of the group is that conversations are conducted in BSL. That's the way we run the group. If somebody wants to share on that group from outside, they can't just post. They have to actually put an explanation in BSL. So that's to be a video with the BSL explaining why the photograph is there. With these photos, we're not looking at the technical quality behind how the photograph was taken. You don't need to have a particularly long lens or adaptation to your camera. What we're looking to do is explore the beauty of nature and to capture that in photos. And that's really what.
And we're looking for rare stuff. We're looking for rare stuff.
Absolutely. And the reason why we want that is, I want everybody to see that. And so many times, you might start off that people do a couple of photos and then the second time, third time, but we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to come in and contribute.
We have a real difficulty. We always have a real fierce debate deciding which is the best photo, the top 3 finalists for our competition. But we do really enjoy judging it. But so many wild and natural photographs are lovely. And so are the photographs about animals or trees or plants, or can it be any of those categories, any realm?
Well, I think what I want to say in terms of any wild animals, we also look at plants. Plants are actually very difficult to take photographs of because, you know, if you're trying to do something, animals that can go out, you know, they can be wild, they can be in the garden. If they're wild, then we can't take them from outside. And some things that people think are wild are not wild, they're actually just they grow in your own garden. And it's not easy to know the difference. And we're looking for those unusual objects, those unusual plants and animals, so we have to be really careful. And people need to understand what wild means and what doesn't just grow in the normal garden.
So you're looking for wild animals as well?
When we're thinking about animals, really we have to think about the whole, it encompasses every kind of animal, fish, bird, everything. It's
Yeah,
not
true.
just those that move around on four legs. It's really not. Because we could start to differentiate and call them mammals. We could talk about other things. But I think in sign language, we use that generic sign. It's a sign animals that encompasses all of them. I don't think we have that many photos of animals on four legs, actually, to be
No,
honest.
not many. I don't think so, no.
A lot of our photographs are birds.
Oh, loads of birds. Yeah, loads of birds.
I would say that's probably the greatest number.
And butterflies second, I'd say.
Insects, yes, absolutely. And I think over the past year, we've had a lot more close-ups of some of the insects as well. And we're starting to see some better photography coming through with just incredible photographs, really
And
close up.
people are getting more interested, you know, the more they learn about what things are. Okay, so it's not just animals, it's insects, it's birds, it's trees, it's all of that.
It is, that's right.
And you mentioned that the group is growing and that every month you guys sit down. I just imagine you with your kind of hats on and looking like cowboys or something, the pair of you sitting together, and
Yeah.
you do this competition and you announce the third, second, and first places in the photo competition every month. I think that's a really lovely idea. And that keeps the deaf community interested and engaged, and it brings in new people. And it stops loneliness, I think. So well done, you guys, for setting that up and for running that for the last 5 years. I think that's fantastic.
So much for saying powerful. Thank you.
And you don't have to have any fancy equipment. You can just take a photo on your mobile, right?
Not at all.
Because
That's
cameras
absolutely.
are expensive.
You know, nowadays it's just learning not to go too close and getting things blurry, learning how to do that. And you can do that with a phone and then identifying it. And that's the whole point of it.
And the competition runs from May to September. So we run it over the summer. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
May to September. So, but you could take photographs through the winter as well, couldn't you? And then put them in.
You can indeed, but they won't be included in the competition.
All right. Okay. I get it.
We get a break. It gives us a break whenever that's not running.
And I know that you're both very well traveled, so maybe that's what you do with your breaks and you share those experiences when you come back. So let me just go back to before the Facebook group. How did you two meet? What's your history?
Well, I think I started at the age of 8 or 9 years old. I went to obviously a deaf school, and as children we used to find things, and there were lots of things out there. I think children are less exposed to nature nowadays, and we used to find plants and insects and all sorts of things and ask each other what it was, talk to our teachers about what it was. And that was really how I got exposed to it and got interested in it. That's where it all started for me.
I started at school as well. I was at Burwood Park School, and that's how I met Dave, because we were both there. And I think one of the teachers, who was interested in nature himself, kind of ran a competition and told us all to go out of the classroom and find things. We had to find a flower, we had to find an insect, we had to find a leaf, we had to and bring these things back. And there was like a class competition. And we had that once a week. It was every Sunday. And that, I think, got us interested. It got us keen on the competition.
But we were really lucky because we were surrounded by forest land.
Oh, yeah, there's 2 acres there. 2 acres. Yeah, so we had plenty to wander around in. And there's plenty of trees there. And I mean, you know, there was no Google at that time, no smartphones or anything like that. So you had to go to library, and you had to look, through the books to try and find what it was that you'd discovered. You had to keep things, you had to collect things, you had to take them to the library, show them to the teacher, and if you'd identified it correctly from the reference book, then you get a tick, and every 3 months, you get points, and you'd win a prize, which was usually a book.
Yeah, I remember, you won twice, and I didn't.
I did. And I still have the books. Let me show you.
Yeah, he actually has them. He won it twice. There you go. Those are the actual books.
So you got those from school? Wow. Well, yeah, you can see my name inside. 1961.
Oh,
wow.
That's a few years ago now.
And signed by the headmaster as well. Wow, what a beautiful memory. And you've kept it all this time. That's lovely. Yeah, he's only jealous because I beat him.
Yeah, I think you were 13, I was 14.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was a bit older. And again, we got into these nature competitions, and again, winning books. Here's another one I won. What a lovely cover. Look at all of those butterflies. 1963, this one.
63.
So
See, I won twice and I never won at all. Was that not?
I know, you didn't win anything. Ha, sorry. Oh, and it's inscribed. That's beautiful. How lovely. Look at the handwriting.
Oh, he was such a good boy.
But that's how we got interested. And that's how Dave got interested. And we would go out looking for insects, caterpillars, hunting. Do you remember caterpillar hunting? And just looking for everything, really. And that's how the interest in nature started. And we still have it. We both still have it. And that's what, binds us together. That's a lovely shared experience. It's brought you together and it's kept you together. Now, if deaf people wanted to join your Facebook group, here's the link for them.
Really welcome to do that. Please do join.
Well, we do want more members, so do please join. Yeah. I'm sure you'll get a lot of people being interested in joining.
I know myself that in terms of nature, some people don't know where to start. But I think if you're looking to find out where to start, I would advise you to find your local nature reserve. And to find that, you can go on Google and just put in where you are and type in nature reserve. And if you put that in, it'll show up. There's over 2,000 around the UK. So find the one that's closest to where you live. If you want to get started, go there. It's always free entry. I don't think you have to pay to get anywhere. And you'll get a good walk out of it. You can take your dog with you. It could be a lovely day out in nature, surrounded by trees, beautiful scenery, and there will be lots of things there. There might be wild animals or whatever, birds around you. Go out there and start off taking a photograph. It doesn't matter what you take a photograph of to get started. And then nowadays, there's so many apps. There's a Google app as well, that when you take a photo, will actually tell you what that is that you've taken a photograph of. And those apps, then you can go in the bottom and you don't actually have to type much. It starts to bring up information for you and you just click in on it and it shows you so much information. And when you click, so you take a photo, if you get the right app, and then it will come up with what it is and give you the label for it, give you information about it.
They're really helpful. They are really helpful, honestly. If you've no idea what it is you've just seen, these identifier apps are great.
I mean, I use those apps a lot. I mean, don't think that we're sitting here knowing everything. We absolutely don't know the name of everything. And I've had lots. Sometimes you can get something, maybe plants or flowers, that there's 4 or 5 that are very similar. And because I'm able to use this app now, I can take a photo and it'll tell me what it was without me needing to know.
So have you got an example of one of these apps? Can you show us one that you've got?
Yeah, sure.
They are honestly really, really useful. They're really helpful.
So you can download an app called Google Lens. Google Lens.
Google Lens. Okay, so that's one.
And that's available for both Apple and Android devices. Or the other one you can try is Google. I'm just going to show you here. Can you see that?
Can you just turn your phone a little so that we can see it?
Sorry about
No, don't
this.
worry, don't worry, don't worry.
No, I think it's really difficult to see. It's
Okay.
Google, and it says research, and then there's a little bit at the side that you click into. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so thank you for that advice about these, identifier apps and the options that you have there.
Yeah, and then there's the option then to click in or type in. But you can just go directly onto Google and ask what something is.
Terrific. Okay. So you've got these apps that you can use, or you could use, the internet or reference books. You've got options, haven't you?
Loads of resources out there nowadays. Very easy.
Okay. And I know you've both traveled to, well, all kinds of locations. I think it might be nice now to take a moment to show some photographs to our viewers, and then we'll show some more later on. But let's take a few slides just now. So tell us about this. What have we just seen there?
That plant is called Sunju.
A Sunju, right?
That's correct. Now, it's mostly found in Scotland, particularly on the western side of Scotland, where
it's boggy.
Yes, where it's particularly damp. And you will typically find them in that area where there's a lot of things do grow in that area. And the roots then stretch out quite far because they're looking for food. The peat in that area makes it very difficult, so it's hard to get the roots established. And so over the years, these plants have adapted, and now they have become plants that actually will catch, eat, and absorb flies.
So this is a Sunju. Wow.
Yeah, if you look at it more close up, you'll be able to see that in operation. So hopefully you could see that there. You've got the stem of the plant, and then the bits that come out the top spread out, and it's almost like a trap. And so it's called Sunju. It's a bit sticky. So when the insect comes in, there's a good attractive flavor there for them. So the fly goes in, they think they are getting a good feed, and it closes over and traps them in. And there's no way of
them. Oh.
So it closes over, absorbs the insect, and then that's its nourishment.
So Sunjus grow on peat bogs. They can't get any food from the peat bog, so they eat flies instead. The flies stick, the Sunju closes around them and just digests the fly. Wow. So it's a carnivorous plant, and it attracts them by sticking to it in the west of Scotland, and only in Scotland.
Yes, and the photographs that I showed you, you've just seen, are from the west of Scotland. It's those areas where it's peat bog and very, very, very damp that you'll see that. And the plants look brilliant, but they're tiny. They're really tiny.
Oh, really? Just small. Okay.
You need to know where to look for them. You need to know where to look. And once you start to identify them, you'll see that there's plenty of them around.
Oh, that's fascinating. And so you got a nice close-up photo.
Yeah, I just want to say that they are very much available in Scotland. People talk about another plant called the Venus flytrap. It's not native to our shores. It catches the flies, but it's been brought here from other countries. This is actually native to the Scottish climate.
Wow, I need to get out and look around Scotland more, see if I can spot one of those.
Just make sure your welly boots are on when you're out in one of those peat bogs.
I need to buy myself a new pair of wellies, you're quite right.
And I would suggest waders as well.
Okay, let's have another photo. What's next? So tell us about this. What's this?
So what you saw there was two different types of bluebells, one from England in the Derby area. There's another one that's deep blue, and then the leaves are longer. But then the other one you saw is very straight as a plant, and it's called the Spanish bluebell. So you can see the difference in shape. Different color as well. It's lighter. The darker one tends to lean over a little bit more, and that's how you can.
Okay, so it bows, and the other one is upright. Okay.
Yeah. So the one that bends over more is originally from England. The one that's more upright is originally from Spain, but it's actually seen in Scotland. Sometimes you call it the heatherbell in Scotland.
Or a harebell, yeah, we call them harebells. So bluebell, but they're English bluebells. Okay.
Oh, I love the bluebell. I think it's fantastic to see. Getting out and seeing so many of them, the rows and rows of bluebells around springtime, just beautiful to see when they're all out.
Yeah, you get the snowdrops, and then you get the daffodils, then you get the bluebells.
Just a beautiful flower. So walking through so many of them, it just makes you feel so relaxed. They sway in the breeze. They're just beautiful. But the Spanish ones are very different. The English ones have that look about them, but you don't see them very
Is
often.
there a scent? Wow. And the Spanish bluebells, they're a lighter blue color. And you can also get white ones as well. You also see and pink. Also, you see pink ones as well. Whereas the English bluebells are, what we call a true bluebell, a darker blue.
Very interesting that those colors aren't the same.
And so these bluebell photos are from your Facebook group, are they? Have you got bluebell photos on your Facebook group?
Yeah. Oh, yes, we do. But sometimes people put them on and they're not the English bluebells. People don't realize, and we have to point that out to them. So
Right.
everybody likes to be told that they haven't got the right information.
Okay, let's take another photo. You tell them about this, Dave. Could you come a little bit closer? It's getting a bit dark there, guys, where you are.
Put the light on. Let me just put the light on.
Oh, if you would, that'd be great. Ah, yeah, it is gathering a little bit now. Twilight's getting earlier and earlier, isn't it? Nights are drawing in. Is that better? Can you see us better? Great, okay.
Is that better now? Can you see me better? A bit of a yellow tinge, mind you.
And I can see those lovely chairs. I can see those lovely chairs. And you look like you've got a tan. It's all good. I was looking at your chair before you came back. I was admiring that tan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It feels warm and welcoming. What a fabulous chair.
It's connected to the photo that was just shown.
And what was the photo? Tell us about it.
So these are red deer. Very well known. You see a lot of them in Scotland, some in England, mostly out in the wilds of Scotland. The antlers, in the west of Scotland, you will only see 3 prongs, but you will also see a lot with 6. Now, some of them have different antlers, different sizes. Some photos I've looked at just by searching on Google. When we started...
Tell us more about these antlers, these points.
Well, what happens is they start off and then they grow, but antlers don't stay forever. They start off and then they fall and then they grow again. So they might start off and have 3 and then it turns to 4 points. So it doesn't stay. As they get older, then the smaller set of antlers grows into a larger set. So when people go out and hunt deer, when they see a stag with a very big antler, they call them and
Emperor.
depending on the number of points that are there, and they get very excited. So I took a photograph with only 3, and the one I realized then that because there were only 6 antlers in total, that was a very young deer.
It's a bit like a tree, isn't it? When you saw the trunk in half, the number of rings shows the age. So with deer, it's the number of points on their antlers. The more points they have, the older they are. Wow.
Yes, and then when you see those big stags with a very large set of antlers, then those are the more respected ones in the herd.
So the photo that we saw, there was one with 6 points. Have you got any on your Facebook group that have got more?
There's one at Roe, and there was another one starting with M. A Chinese version. But that was more in the south. They were very small, Chinese, originally Chinese, but they've come here, but they're different looking.
So how did you feel when you saw those deer to take the photographs?
Well, I've seen them in the wild, and that's the way you want to see them. I've seen other ones in parks, they're basically roaming through lands that are owned by someone, and it's easier to see them there. When you see them and they're genuinely in the wild, that's a totally different experience. The first time I saw one in the wild, I just came across it by luck.
I know, he was lucky.
Yeah.
And so whereabouts were you?
West of Scotland. Inverness, I think.
Inverness, all right, okay.
Oh, down the coast a bit, yeah.
Fabulous. Have you seen any deer, Stuart? Oh, I'd love to, but I haven't seen any. Okay, well, let's take a pause from looking at the photos and ask if you have any things, any objects that you brought along that you'd like to show us.
Okay, let me show you an example of a sea urchin.
Okay, yeah, what's that?
These before. I know when you go to other countries abroad, maybe you're out swimming and you see those little things that if you stand on them, they go into the bits of it go into your feet. But here, particularly in Scotland and along the east coast, down the east coast of England, right on up that coastline, you will get a lot of large sea urchins. And there's an example.
That's beautiful. What a beautiful object. That's like a...
And I love it because it has its almost like tiny little hairs over the top. So some of the other ones are bigger, and that's what would go into your foot if you stood on something. But these ones are tiny, and it's very delicate looking. So this is where the food would go in.
Oh, yeah.
There's a type of seaweed called kelp.
Oh, yes, I know kelp.
Big long one, and it's very well known in the East Coast. I don't even know if they have that on the West Coast. So this goes along, and it kind of pulls it in through that little bit at the bottom. It moves along. It has those little hairs that enable it to shuffle along, and then it gathers the kelp in and eats it. And obviously we can eat kelp too, but there's an egg that's inside it called a roe egg.
Okay.
And you can
eat. That's edible, is it? Yeah.
It's not the kind of thing I would enjoy the taste of. I think it did taste.
I've never tried it. No, I've never tried it.
Salty, extremely salty. But you can.
But I didn't realise they were edible. Actually, I've seen them. Didn't know you could eat them.
You can see there's kind of stripes coming down the side of it, and there's 5 of each color. It comes from the same family as a starfish.
Oh, that makes sense.
And you know the way if you think about the genealogy of monkey, then it comes down into different animals. Well, this would have been a starfish, and they say that what happens is the points of the starfish have come together to form that spherical shape. So that's what they say about adaptation over time.
Wow. And do you have anything else to show us?
Now, this is very delicate, so I just have to be careful here. Can you see that?
Ew, what is that? I don't think I like that so much. Oh, it's got a big spiky tail. What is that? Ew.
It's got a strange name, horseshoe crab.
It's a crab.
It's actually not a crab in itself. It's from the same family as spiders, but it lives in the water and it behaves as a crab.
Okay.
So that was found originally, that came from Florida on the beach. I saw a lot of broken ones lying there, and I found one that was intact, and I was really careful because it is very delicate and brought it home. They do break very easily. It's amazing because 450 million years ago, before the dinosaur age, those would have been in existence.
Wow.
That because fossils have been found that have exactly that shape embedded in the fossil. And they're still around now.
And you brought it over from America?
Yes, I brought that.
So you'd have to carry that in your luggage so carefully.
Oh, I wrapped it up with so many layers to make sure it would stay intact.
I'm amazed that they allowed you to bring it in, actually.
Great question, actually, because at that time there was no law about bringing any kind of sea fish or anything like that back. Then you look, if you go to areas such as the Red Sea, they're quite strict about it, and you're not allowed to bring any kind of shellfish, anything. You're not allowed to lift anything from somewhere like the Red Sea at all. So it depends where it's from.
Okay.
If you pick them up, you have to throw them back. You can't take them home.
Wow. We've got a comment in from a viewer, a deaf person who's been fascinated, Audrey Cameron, who says, it's amazing to have a horseshoe crab. So there you go. Very fascinated with your find there. Thank you for your comment, Audrey.
This size indicates this is only a baby. They grow up to be this size, actually, right about a foot wide. Yeah, that's what size they grow to.
Oh, that is really unusual with that tail. And is it dangerous at all, that thing?
No, not at all. It wouldn't cause any harm.
Does it sting you or anything with the tail?
No, its little legs just go around in the water and it crawls along the bottom. It's got those pincers as well, like a crab. But yeah.
That's the first time I've seen one. First time I've seen one of those. Okay, let's have a look at some other slides that we've got coming in. Okay. So we've got a zebra crossing, and then we've got zebras crossing.
Well,
what's going on here?
That was filmed in South Africa, where we went last year. And this zebra just went straight in front of us. And so we thought we would call that a zebra crossing because we wanted to take a video of a zebra crossing. We were on safari in South Africa. It was a fabulous experience getting to see so much. But the first thing we saw was a zebra crossing in front of us.
And it wasn't just a one zebra. There were loads. It just kept going and going and going. There must have been about 30 zebra. And we were just sitting there waiting while they all crossed the road. Parents, babies, just loads. And then there's more, then some more, and then some more. Then finally, we were able to drive off. There were no lights to stop, no traffic lights. You see, they didn't know when to stop. They just kept crossing. So that's fantastic, isn't it? We just wait for those lights and everything before we cross, but they just cross when they feel ready. Natural, beautiful. It's funny to see that, actually. Lovely to see those two photographs of a zebra crossing and then zebras crossing. Great. But here's another photo. Let's have a look at this. What's going on there?
So those are photos of a stag beetle.
A stag beetle, right?
Remember we were talking about the deer and the male is the stag. So the male of this beetle has horns outside, but like the antlers.
Okay.
They're typically found more in the south, not so much in the north. Not where I live. It's more further down south in the warmer climes. Surrey, that kind of area.
Okay, warmer.
They love the royal oaks. They love to be in oaks.
The oak trees?
Yes, the oak tree is where they love to live. They would be.
Okay.
So their eggs are inserted in the tree, and then as the pupae start to come out, the larvae start to come out, then they start to crawl out. They stay there then for 7 years.
7 years?
On the tree. Just crawling around on the oak tree. And then they go into the pupa stage where they're closed over before that changes into a beetle. It's a bit like the process that a butterfly goes through with metamorphosis. This is a similar process. And you saw there are different photos. So you had the male and the female, the two beetles. It's quite easy to pick up which is which because the male has those big horns at the front and the female has tiny little ones at the front. But the female actually gives you the bigger bite.
The female of the species. Yeah, more dangerous. Women are strong,
Yeah, I have to say, the female is stronger. Now, the reason I've brought that one up, that you imagine 6 years on that tree, and then after that, they're dead within the next year.
Oh, really? All that time eating their way out, then just live 1 year?
Adult life for the stag beetle is only a year. What a waste!
Oh,
all that time.
Interesting. All that time to eat your way out. That's wow. Okay.
And the male has those big bits on the front of their head, like horns, and we don't, it's a great sign of prowess, and maybe it's just something that attracts.
Okay, so the ladies look him up and down, do they?
Well, that's what they've got, and they show them off.
Interesting. Okay. We've got a question come in from Audrey Cameron again, who would like to ask a question this time. So Audrey asks, do you feel we are engaged with nature enough or not? And she also comments that your work with the Facebook group is excellent. But do you feel we're not engaged with nature enough? How do you feel about our relationship to the wild world?
I would agree. And thank you for the comment. Thank you for the compliment as well. I think that if we come back to the fact that we talked earlier on about schools, school children, we grew up exposed to nature all the time. And I think it's very rare for children to have that nowadays. Getting out and about, exploring, picking things up, just asking each other, what could that be? That's how we learned. And nowadays, and that's why that love develops and that interest grows. I mean, back in my time, nobody stopped us. Now, we were lucky, and there was a park there and a teacher, and they had a competition for us. But I think we need some proactive work to be done for children to help them engage with nature. And as I said earlier on, a starting point is nature reserves. Arrange to meet up with someone at a nature reserve, explore it, have a chat about what you see, and start to learn that way.
And I agree with that. I absolutely agree with what Dave's saying. I think for the future, we do need to encourage more people to get together in nature. Nature reserves, I think, are a good place to start. So going back to Audrey's comment, really, we need to engage school children. I mean, hearing kids learn about that stuff, they hear about it just around them passively. Whereas we might need to create activities or something for deaf children, or perhaps for them to join your Facebook group or something like that.
And I think as well, when you think about groups going out, then, bring someone in who's an expert. May need to get an interpreter involved and all that as well. But I would say the best way to do that is to get deaf people who can do that directly for children in sign language, because they're going to learn not only about nature, they're going to relate to that deaf person as a role model. So there's so many elements to that which would be beneficial.
And you two are deaf role models, aren't you? And maybe Audrey could get in touch with you and you could get involved in Audrey's work. Audrey's involved in science and nature, and perhaps something could come of that. And you might want to think about doing some sort of nature roadshow to schools, because I do think it's rare to find role models like your good selves.
I think that's what I'd love to see, day trips where people deliberately go out looking for opportunities within nature.
Oh, plenty of food for thought there, yeah. And if people want to, with climate change and the Anthropocene and all of that, it becomes more and more important, doesn't it?
I think if we think about the seasons and the change through the seasons, I mean, people tend to think there's nothing you can see in the winter, but every season has its opportunities. If you go out certain times of the year, you'll find the lakes and the birds come from abroad. If you think that some come in from the Scandinavian countries, from Finland, Norway, the colder countries, when it's really cold, they'll come to our climate. And then, there are opportunities in certain seasons where you will see lots of different types of birds coming in.
Yeah, good point.
Other times, they just go to sleep. So again, spring, you've the flowers just starting. And so the summer is when the flowers, then you will get the insects out, the butterflies, and the birds. The baby birds will appear in summer as well. So you work through the seasons, spring, summer, autumn in particular is when the fungi start to develop. So you get different types of fungus appearing all over the place and growing. And then you get different...
And the berries and things on the trees. Yeah, absolutely.
So
there's something for every season, really. So you would say, don't just wait for spring and summer. Get out there all year round. And do you like to go to kind of lakes or lochs or reservoirs, or what's your favorite kind of jaunt?
Yeah, slightly different approach in this one. I like to just keep an open mind, and I like open expanses as well, where I can see more. And you get a lot of birds that way. That's where you can pick up on them.
And actually, this year we've been out and about quite a lot. We've been out in the open, we've been in the forest, so we've had quite a few opportunities. Hiking in the fresh air is very good for you. You see lots of things, spot lots of things. It's great.
But sometimes when you first arrive, you might not see much.
I suppose you have bad days and good days. But I think get out for your well-being anyway, because it's good for you. Right, so we're talking about fitness, well-being, fresh air, enjoyment. Great, okay. Let's turn to another photo just now. Okay, so what's this butterfly?
Now that is a swallowtail. That is the largest butterfly in Britain.
Oh, the largest one. Okay.
The largest one. And Dave and I haven't managed to see one yet. We haven't actually seen one in real life. And even within the group, we haven't got that ourselves. Other people put in photographs. So we're really keen to try and get that next year. So we want to catch a swallowtail. And we've been told the best place to go is the Norfolk Broads.
Norfolk Broads, okay.
Our plan.
And why there?
The swallowtail just seems to be...
Is it the weather or?
Well, I think the caterpillars like what they can eat there, the vegetation they have there.
So the vegetation out on the fence. I'm hopeful that we're going to see one. And when we do, we're going to be posting that on the Facebook group next year. Can't I win a prize? No, I can't. And also, somebody might be watching this today. They might go out tomorrow, see a swallowtail, post it before you. I
do know someone they said they lived near there and they got photographs of kingfisher, different things. And, they said they're going to go and get one, but we're hoping they won't. We're hoping we get there first.
Yeah, well, let's keep our fingers crossed. We're not going to tell anybody when we're going. We'll try and keep it a secret. But it's a beautiful butterfly. It honestly is the swallowtail. It's an absolute, it's very rare, very rare, very rare. Okay, that's interesting. Can I ask you both, um, from all your experiences of going out and about, looking at butterflies and everything, what's the best kind of wild place you've been to, Dave?
I can pick out two particular memories. One was in Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Okay.
Sort of in Central America. And in terms of the variety of wildlife, animals, insects, what we had exposure to, incredible ones, some that you didn't like seeing.
Oh, we saw all kinds of things. We saw birds, we saw spiders, tarantulas, everything.
Yeah. And you know, it was just amazing. There was so much to see, constantly seeing things, constantly coming
The
across
birds, the birds were beautiful. So many beautiful birds.
Costa Rica, but also South Africa.
Oh, that's your second place, South Africa.
So in terms of mammals, the four-legged animals that we talked about at the start, seeing elephants, seeing tigers, seeing hyena, elephants, those kind of animals, you know, I mean, I was so excited, honestly.
Oh, and panicking as well.
It was honestly, it was the most amazing experience.
So you were just ticking them off, were you? And you saw like a cheetah, and you get more and more keen to see more things. That's fantastic. And what about you, Stuart?
Yeah, I mean, I was with Dave when we went to Costa Rica and we went to South Africa. It was just an incredible experience.
And you saw a sloth in Costa Rica. Oh my word. Yeah, it was just hanging from the tree. It was just hanging there, and his color is it's like green. You wouldn't expect it, but it's covered in green, and you think, what's that? Is that moss or something? Like, because he's so slow, the damp just stays. He never cleans himself, so the moss grows on him because he's so slow. He just moves so slowly, and he can hang there for like. He comes down only once a week, and then goes back up again. Just hangs there for a week.
Honestly, once a week. That's it.
Wow. Wow. So you just stay there for a week. Does he not go to the toilet or anything? I mean, wow.
Maybe
My
every day.
goodness. Okay. Let me just keep an eye on the time. I think we've got time for another photo, so let's have some more. So what's this? What are we seeing here?
One of our members in the Facebook group posted this, and I was just thrilled to see that.
Oh,
It's
what is it?
a greater crested newt.
Do it again. A greater crested newt.
Yes, a greater crested newt, but that size, just so long. And they are really rare. When you see them, you're not allowed to touch them, not allowed to move them. And because the only thing is, if they were in a position of danger where they could get killed, then you have to be very careful and gentle, take them off the road. That's allowed, but otherwise, no contact. They are really rare, and they tend to live in ponds.
So there are laws protecting some of these creatures, are there?
Well, for newts, yes. A lot of wildflowers as well are protected by law.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. So the bluebells that I was telling you about before, there's an act that protects them. There's a law. You are not allowed to pull up wildflowers. Can't pull up wild bluebells. Can't pick them. I think that started, well, yeah, it is any wildflower. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that started, people get super keen, don't they, on wildflowers and think, oh, I'll pick those. But there is a law against that. So, I mean, deaf people like myself probably wouldn't be aware of that kind of law. You might fall foul of it. So we need that information in sign language, don't we? We need some some information about what
Yeah,
laws
there, though.
we need to observe.
1980.
Yeah, it's been it's been inspired, and we should say that it's not only deaf people who don't know those laws. A lot of hearing people don't know them either.
Totally agree with what you're saying. Most people just don't know.
And so, how did you find out about the laws from the internet, or what?
That's a fair question. I think perhaps because in Britain there are 3 or 4 different types of newts. There's the greater crested, there's the smooth, there's different types of newts.
Right.
And you can tell by their underbelly, but then the back is very similar. And so you have to be careful, and that's why you go back and research to see what you've got.
Okay, so that's how you found out about the laws as well. Okay, so you're not allowed to lift up newts, you're not allowed to pull up wildflowers. What other kind of rare breeds are there out there? And it's interesting to think about how they survive, isn't it? Let's have a look at a few more photos before we talk more about that.
So that is a chestnut tree.
A horse chestnut, okay.
And you can see this little round shape, kind of prickly at the side, and then there's a sweet chestnut.
Is that have we got a photo of that? The sweet chestnut. Ah. Okay, so what's the difference?
So it used to be that those chestnuts were really popular. We all, as children, used to play a game called Conkers. We would tie a string to the end of one of them and then play a game.
The Conkers.
And then some people would have roasted the chestnuts as well.
So the sweet chestnuts you can roast, the horse chestnuts you play.
Many years ago in Roman time, then they were ground down and turned into flour.
That's the sweet one you're talking about now. Right, okay.
One, yes. So that's edible. Horse chestnuts are different. They have a different leaf. One has 5 prongs on it, and the other one is a single long leaf, the sweet chestnut leaf. So they don't look exactly the same.
And that horse chestnut, you can't eat the horse chestnut. That's not edible at all. So if you confuse the two, that's problematic. Sweet chestnut is different. Well, this is the right season, isn't it now, for those?
They are.
Yeah, the games of Conkers. I used to love those. Yeah, that you can tell because the horse chestnut has got a really spiky case, whereas a sweet chestnut has got kind of long spikes on it, but they're soft. So the sharper, more dangerous one, you can't eat.
And the sweet one is smoother. And some of those trees will have been growing for 700 years.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm.
And they just keep producing these fruit every year, these seeds every year. Dave, I can see you've got something just after I caught a glimpse of some holly in the corner of your screen just before. What have you got there, and why have you got it there?
So I have 2 different plants to show you. Well, I shouldn't say plants. I have 2 different leaves, 2 types of leaves to show you, actually.
Can you bring those just a little bit closer, Dave? Okay, so there's that one. Yep, we've got a good glimpse of that. This is familiar. Yeah. I don't know what the other one is.
So you can see this one's prickly. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's the famous holly that's used for Christmas tree, wreaths, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So do you know what this leaf is?
No, it's different. Is that the same?
That's holly too. That is holly.
It never is it?
The same tree, the same bush.
Oh, how?
Well, I can explain why. The bottom leaves will all be very prickly. As you go further up the bush or the tree, the leaves become more smooth. At the
Huh?
very
So in the same tree, you've got spiky leaves around the bottom and smoother leaves at the top. What's going on there? Is that because of the sun or?
No, it's because they are so clever. They've adapted because it means that animals who want to go near them won't, because they're put off by the prickly nature of the leaves at the bottom. The ones at the top don't need that, so they're just nice and smooth. There's no point.
Unless you had a giraffe in Africa, they'd be all right.
I have
Isn't
no
that
idea
marvelous?
how that comes about, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, so the holly's really smooth at the top, and that's true for all trees. Do you just have a look at any tree, see for yourself?
Honestly, this is the kind of thing you need to get out in fresh air, get out in nature and see for yourself.
Get yourself in the fresh air, Avril, go on. Honestly, I look down all the time. I need to start looking up, don't I?
And the holly's a great example of that, because if you look up the holly tree, you will see at the top it looks different. So that's what I'm saying. Start off looking at some of those leaves, that kind of thing, and you will see that. And that's how it just changes as it goes up the tree.
That's so useful. Holly, I mean, I didn't know there was all this variety in things. Have we got time for one more photograph? Can we do one more? Or have you got another object?
So this one.
Watch this now. Yeah, watch this. Oh, look at that.
Now that is a clam.
Would there be a pearl in that?
No, that's an oyster. That's different from a clam.
Oh, okay.
When you see films and you see divers going down and they get their leg trapped in something,
Aye.
all the drama of trying to get the shell open, get them out again, that's typically a clam. You can get them growing really large. This is a small example. If they're really large, that's the one that you would see catching people's legs.
And where's this from?
Well, you asked about a pearl, but that will grow inside an oyster. And that starts off as a grain of sand. It goes in there, and then what happens is the sand goes into the oyster, and then it irritates the surface, and then it rubs and rubs and rubs and rubs and rubs and rubs until a pearl grows.
Wow. Who knew? You both have so much experience, so much knowledge about wild things. I'm sure our audience are going to be fascinated by this. I'm aware of time, but do you have any tips or advice for members of our audience who want to get started with some of this? What's the best thing to do?
Really hard to answer that, because you can't force anybody to like nature. That's not going to happen.
No, it's just up to you, really.
But I think the starting point is to arrange for a group to get together, go out sometime to a nature reserve, and try and bring along someone who has a bit of knowledge that they can share and get everybody else enthused. That's the way to go, because once you start and then start to get these apps out, then individuals will take it on board and it'll grow from there.
That's motivating. Yeah, and if you meet somebody who's interested in nature, then you can start going out looking for things. And you start talking about nature in BSL. And this is our hope, that we'll get more and more members joining our group and talking about nature in sign language. So do you go out once a week or once a month, or what kind of thing? Give us some tips.
Well, he tends to come over for other reasons, and then we'll incorporate a visit out to nature within that, whatever else is going on in their lives.
Yeah, we usually do. So do you spend all day out, or a couple of hours, or we go for the day?
Nature's not waiting for us to get there at 2:00. You can't do that. You need to spend time seeing what's there, picking up what's up.
Lovely. So you keep your eyes peeled. Do you talk to each other, or are you too busy looking around at things?
No, we really enjoy it, and we always get a little bit thirsty at the end, and we have to go for a pint. Yeah, that's what happens at the very end of the day.
I see. But why not? Why not? At the end of a good day, and I'm sure as you're sitting having your pint, you're still looking around you, aren't you, and chatting about what you've seen and sharing photographs and seeing what you've seen from different angles, really.
Absolutely. And that's one of the best parts, is that shared experience and then being able to chat about it together.
So you usually just go the two of you, or do you have others as well? And my wife sometimes comes along, and we do this as kind of man time. Sometimes my wife just prefers me out of the house, and so I go off with my buddy. But so I know you said your wife sometimes comes, but do you go always as a couple, or do you have a group that you join as well?
Up until now, it's only been the two of us, but we have talked about maybe in the future making it a bigger group.
Oh, I'd like to join. Yeah, but I suppose if you have too many people, I think you couldn't, because all over the UK, you've got all sorts of different groups. And also if people join and you have a bad day and you don't spot anything. Yeah, so that's why I think it's best for people to start their own wherever they are locally in the UK.
But that's why the photos work really well, because that's how we do share in the group, and we can do that. And as I say, there's over 4,000 photos already, and we've enjoyed that so much, just seeing the photos. And I think it's a really good opportunity. We've really enjoyed seeing other people's photographs as well. It's a great hobby. It's just really relaxing. Wonderful. I have to say, nature is precious and we should all relish it.
Crucial, absolutely. But can you believe we have now been talking for 1 hour already? Do you want some more? And should we have another session?
I think that might do it for now. I think people need a break. We all need a break.
Okay, well, I'd just like to thank you both for sharing your experience, your wisdom, and all of that information with us. I'm sure that our viewers will be really keen now to join your Facebook group. Hopefully they're going to be coming onto that link and join it. I'm joining.
You join.
I am joining. I'm going to join for definite, for sure.
We're waiting for your photos.
I'm sure if I put the photos, I'm going to be corrected, aren't I? If I put something wrong on your Facebook group. But I'm sure we're all going to make an effort now to post things onto the Facebook group.
We look forward
really
to that.
I've really enjoyed this evening with you. Thank you so much. And good luck with the group going forward. And I do hope you carry that on. I hope the audience have enjoyed it tonight. I really have. Thanks both for being here. Thank you.